Okay, let's dive into your source material today. We're tackling that moment, the one where the conversation just stalls?
Mm-hmm.
You've got the basic English, you can kick off a chat, but then silence. That kind of awkward pause. How do you keep it going?
Yeah, it's super common, isn't it? You know the words, sure, but actually connecting them, making things flow naturally, getting beyond just simple answers. That's a real skill, and the source material you sent digs into that really well.
Exactly. And that's really our mission for this deep dive, right? To pull out those practical phrases, those strategies, straight from these sources you shared, turn those silences into, well, actual conversations.
Right, and this stuff isn't just theory.
Now,
It gives you the actual language people use, native speakers.
it's like getting the cheat sheet. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, exactly. A cheat sheet to sound more natural, more confident, helping you move from just, swapping facts to really connecting with people in English.
Connecting. I like that focus.
Yeah.
So, okay, where does the source suggest we start? How do we build that connection?
Well, it really begins with just showing you're paying attention. You're
Yeah.
engaged. The source makes a big point about how powerful even small reactions are. So instead of just a nod,
Yeah.
actually use phrases like, oh, really? Maybe that's cool. Or even, I didn't know that. Little things.
Right, giving it a bit of energy. The source even mentions showing surprise or empathy. Things like, wow, that sounds amazing, or no way, seriously.
Uh-huh.
And what's interesting is how the source pairs these little reactions with inviting more. Like, that's interesting, tell me more. Or, I'd love to hear more about that. It's active listening, but out loud.
Precisely, yeah. And that leads really naturally into the next technique the source highlights, asking follow-up questions.
Ah, okay.
Because that shifts the focus back, makes the other person feel like, okay, they're listening, and it gives them room to say more.
So instead of hitting a dead end after the answer, you ask something like, what happened next? Or maybe, how did you feel about that? Or even, do you do that often?
Yeah, and the source gives variations too, like getting more specific, what do you like most about it?
Yep.
Or maybe digging into the timing, like when did you start doing that?
Yeah.
Or if they mention something tough, the source suggests asking, oh, was it difficult? Or what might you do differently next time? They're not random questions.
Right, they're linked.
They're designed to get more detail based on what was just said.
Okay, got it. So you've shown interest. You've asked a good follow-up question.
Yeah.
The conversation's actually moving. Now, what about bringing your own stuff in? How does the source suggest doing that smoothly?
Right. Without just changing the subject completely, the source suggests connecting what they said to your own life using phrases like, oh, that reminds me of.
Yeah.
Or maybe, the same thing happened to me, or I had a similar experience once. It builds a bridge.
I noticed the source also included those sort of relatable empathy phrases like, I know exactly what you mean, or, oh yeah, I've been there too. It shows you get it, makes the connection feel stronger.
Definitely. Now, sometimes you do actually need to shift gears, change direction a bit.
Sure.
And the source provides some really handy transition phrases for that so it doesn't feel abrupt, Not just jumping topics randomly.
Yes. This is so key to sounding natural. What does it suggest?
Well, connectors like anyway, or speaking of that,
Uh,
or that classic, slightly informal one, by the way,
okay, useful.
or linking thoughts. Like, that's a good point. It actually makes me think of, or, that reminds me. And of course, there's always the simple, super versatile, so what about you, to pivot back.
Those are great tools for steering things. The source also touches on sharing opinions, but also, importantly, asking for the other person's view.
Yes, expressing your own opinion, but carefully. Like, well, I think that's true, but maybe I'm not 100% sure. What do you think? Or if you see it differently.
Politely disagreeing.
Exactly. The source suggests phrases like, honestly, I kind of see it differently. Or, that's one way to look at it.
And I like that it reminds us to invite their view back in. I'm curious, do you agree? Or why do you think that is, Abby? Or, interesting point, let's think about that. It shows you actually value their input.
Yeah, it keeps it a dialogue. And finally, the source has a really clear warning about conversation killers.
Ah, yes, the dreaded killers.
You know them.
Mm-hmm.
Those really short, abrupt answers like just yes, no, I don't know. Or the classic, it was okay. They just stop the flow completely.
We've all been guilty. I know I have. But the source gives simple ways to expand basically any short answer, doesn't it?
It does. Instead of just yes, maybe try yes and actually, or yes, because
Hmm.
instead of a flat no, the source suggests something like, not really, but I've thought about it, or no, but I'm interested in.
And I'm not sure, but maybe feels so much better than just I don't know.
Right, and instead of a dull, it was okay. Maybe, it was okay, but I actually prefer. See how each one immediately gives the other person something new to latch onto?
Yeah, it keeps the ball rolling.
Exactly. The source shows how just adding a few extra words keeps the dialogue alive.
These are incredibly practical takeaways from the source material. Okay, so to wrap up this deep dive, we've looked at showing interest, asking those good follow-up questions, adding your own experience smoothly, changing the topic gracefully, sharing and inviting opinions, and, crucially, dodging those conversation killers by expanding short answers.
I think the most valuable thing really from this source material is that call to action it gives. It says, pick just 3 phrases or strategies we talked about, just 3.
Right, 3, okay.
And practice them. Say them out loud first, maybe just to yourself, then try them in a low-stakes chat. Don't worry about being perfect. Just, try them out. See what happens.
That's the key, isn't it? Taking these tools and actually using them. So here's something to think about. How might trying out just a few of these specific phrases from the source completely change the whole flow, the whole feeling of your next English conversation, moving you from just a basic exchange to something that feels more like a real connection? Give it a try.